Hi, my name's Amber Neely. Welcome to our Genesis Women's Shelter and Support Client Services webinar. I'm Amber. I'm one of the counselors here at Genesis. I'm also the Assistant Clinical Director, and I'm here with my coworker, one of our other.
Hi, everyone.
And also joined with us is Jordan Gates. So before we get started today, I'm just going to go through some housekeeping stuff. So just a reminder that this presentation is for educational purposes only. So please consider your own situation and safety concerns prior to putting in the practice any of the ideas that we're talking about today. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so we want to talk about safety first. So please be sure to watch this webinar in a safe place where only safe people can hear it. So it might be helpful if you have headphones to put those in while you're watching. Also remember to clear your browser history after watching the video if you think that somebody might be monitoring your phone or computer. And in addition to that, if you are watching us live on Zoom, remember if you need to leave quickly, that you'll need to click end a couple of times and then close out the Zoom page. I want to talk a little bit about confidentiality. We do ask if you're watching live with us on Zoom that you please do not use our chat feature. If you do use that chat feature, your name and comment will be seen by anybody watching. And the live video that we put on YouTube, your name will also be seen there as well. We also ask that you don't leave any comments on our YouTube videos because if you do, again, your name and comment would be seen by anyone who watches the video. If you're needing any crisis support, we know that sometimes talking about these topics can be really overwhelming, and we know that sometimes you may feel like you need some extra support. So if you are in crisis, or if you need some help with safety planning, or if you're looking for emergency shelter, please call our 24-hour hotline. That number is 214-946-4357. If you're not already a client of ours and you're interested in counseling, please give us a call at 214-389-7700. If you do have any questions about anything that we talk about today in our webinar, please contact us directly. We are going to leave our contact information at the end of this webinar. So you can contact me or Charlotte or Jordan directly if you have any questions. We actually don't monitor or respond to any comments on the YouTube videos. So again, if you need to speak with one of us, please reach out to us directly. Finally, want to share some hotline numbers with you. So again, we have our Genesis hotline. We also have the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And then we have the National Suicide Hotline. So again, take a second to take a picture of this or to write these numbers down if you're needing any additional support. Okay, so we have been talking about parenting with whole brain strategies. We're actually wrapping up today this series, and we're going to do whole brain strategies number 11 and 12. Before we get into that, Jordan's going to share a little bit about how trauma affects children and parenting with COVID.
Hi, everybody. So before we get into the whole brain strategies and the effects of DV on children, we just wanted to remind you guys to take care of yourself during this time. There's a lot going on, and your kids are home a lot more than they usually are, and there's a lot less activities happening. So definitely take time to take care of yourself. Try to find some alone time if possible. Also remember everything we're sharing today are ideas, and you get to take that information and use it however you want, and just remembering that you're the expert in your family, you're the expert on your kids, and so that's the most important thing to keep in mind when listening to all this information. Also remember to always ask for help if you're struggling. We are available to you. As Amber said, our contact information is at the end of this PowerPoint. And then we've listed some resources that are easy, pretty accessible from home. And so one of them is Go Noodle, and we use that in therapy, and a lot of teachers use that at school, but it's great for movement activities for your children, which is really awesome to help them get their energy out and to regulate themselves. And then this
Okay, Jordan, I think you froze a little bit, but also check out our coping skills webinars for more self-care tips. You're
Was I
good?
frozen, Amber?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. My internet's going in and out. So in regards to the effects of domestic violence on children, before we get into whole brain strategies, we do think it's important to consider, right, what trauma symptoms your kids could be displaying right now. Kids are very resilient, and that's important to keep in mind, but kids experience abuse and post-traumatic stress symptoms similar.
Okay, Jordan, you're freezing, so I'm gonna go ahead and just jump in here. And so what Jordan is saying is that we know that whenever our kids experience trauma with domestic violence happening in their home, and also with the current events with COVID-19 and other current events that we're seeing right now, we know that some of these symptoms can come up for them. And so, you know, these are typical PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. So re-experiencing, so things like having nightmares or flashbacks or intrusive memories. Avoidance, so maybe feeling wanting to withdraw or not talk about what is going on. There might be changes in thought or mood. So kiddo might have some difficulty remembering key features of the traumatic event, or there might be some negative thoughts about themselves or the world. Lots of times kids feel really guilty or a lot of shame, and then also a loss of interest in things that they typically like to do. And then we also have some arousal or reactivity happening, right? So this is a kiddo that maybe is always looking over their shoulder. They're always checking for danger, always on alert. This kiddo might present as irritable, easily angered. There might also be some difficulty sleeping, some anxiety, so maybe some nervous habits, maybe like biting their nails or chewing their shirt, some anxiety related behaviors there. And then this may present as this child being really scared to be left alone, so really clinging on to mom during any transitions or when it's time to go to school. And then we want to help them by understanding them, right? And so this is another great slide that Jordan put together that is really helpful for parents to keep in mind that children are aware of the abuse and they do feel scared. You know, sometimes we think that they don't know what's going on, and we really want to understand them and recognize that they do know what's happening. And their perceptions of what's happening matter just as much as what actually happened, right? So they may have a different idea or belief about what went on than what actually did. And so being mindful of that and really leaning into that. Remember that, again, you know, the guilt and shame here, right? Children believing the abuse is their fault. And also they may love and fear the abusive person at the same time, right? And so that's really confusing to sit in a place where you're having those two conflicting feelings happening at once. But that's very common. And then remember, kids might react by acting out or acting in, right? So again, looking at those symptoms we talked about, right? Acting out, maybe being aggressive, or acting in, maybe having really negative thoughts, becoming avoidant, self-harming behaviors can come up. So really paying attention to any changes that you're seeing in your child if they're experiencing any trauma. And then they may want to talk about what's happening, but they don't know how. And so, you know, getting them in counseling, or even you opening up that door and letting them know that it's safe for them to talk to you about what's scaring them. Jordan, do you want to try to add anything else?
That's okay. I'll let you take over. I'm really nervous. It keeps going in and out. So I apologize to everybody watching, and thanks, Amber.
No problem. Okay, so we're going to talk. So let's move into this whole brain strategy. So again, we've been talking about the whole brain child. So Dan Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson's work. So this final chapter of whole brain child talks about the me-we connection, right? And so the whole goal here is helping your child to integrate with themselves and with others. So remember last time we talked about mindsight, and that's having insight about what's going on with you and having the empathy and understanding of what's going on with others. And so that's kind of what that me-we connection is. And so we're really wanting to help kids become a participating member of a we, while not losing touch with their individual me. And that can be tricky as a parent, right? So give yourself grace. I always say this, like, give yourself grace and take your time and be patient. Charlotte's going to go over some great strategies about how to implement this connection. And so remember, just giving yourself time and patience with those. One thing that I really think is important too, though, is to remember happiness and fulfillment are a result of being connected to others while still maintaining that unique identity. So this is a really important concept, and this is a really important piece of the developmental brain to go through. And so also, like I said, this is the essence of mindsight, right? So mindsight is all about being able to see what's in your mind as well as the mind of another. Not literally see, right? But see what's in each other's mind, right? So I have empathy. I can understand. I took my friend's toy and I can recognize how that's really hurting them. And I also notice that when I'm nervous and scared, I get a tummy ache and my heart starts beating fast, right? So having that insight and understanding yourself as well as understanding others. And this doesn't come naturally for children. Children are naturally focused on themselves, right? That is not because your child is selfish or bad. That's just natural, right? Especially the young kiddos. So it's our job as parents, as therapists, as teachers, whoever we are in these kiddos' lives, it's our job to help gain insight into how these kids are connected to their peers, to their family, to the community, and to the world. So helping the child gain that insight. And the ultimate goal here is for the me to discover the meaning and happiness of joining and belonging. So I'm going to let Charlotte go ahead and take over and talk about.
Hey everyone. So yes, kind of like Amber was saying, I'm going to talk about some strategies to help cultivate your kiddos' me-we connection, that mindsight, which is, like Amber was saying, that insight into what they're experiencing, but also that increased insight and empathy into what somebody else might be experiencing. So the more that you see your kiddos starting to kind of cultivate this skill, the more you might see things like their willingness to share, getting along with siblings. Maybe you might notice something like they're going to think twice before they take that last slice of pizza that maybe somebody else might have wanted. So that's kind of the goal that we're looking for here, is that that insight and empathy and that understanding of a healthy relationship and that importance of healthy relationship and connection with others. So this first strategy is increase family fun. So this is really just about increasing the fun that you're having with your family members and within your family, and creating more positive experiences with each other than negative. I think a lot of times, life can be stressful, and life with kiddos can be stressful when you're trying to homeschool and keep up with activities and all of those kinds of things. So just making sure that you're making time for some fun with each other. Laughing, being silly, and having fun with your kids is an easy way to switch the mood, especially when everyone's feeling overwhelmed. It's kind of like a coping skill for the whole family. Children need boundaries and structure, so having some limits, but playful parenting and positive memories help children in a lot of ways, including preparing children for future relationships, encouraging connections with others. They start to value and understand the importance and the reward and the fulfillment that you get from having relationships with others. Offering positive reinforcement regarding being in a loving, healthy relationship. It reinforces that attachment and that parent-child bond. The fact that you're able to kind of stop, put out all the other life stressors away and just kind of connect with each other and have fun. It improves children's relationships. So this is a great way to give your children opportunities to have fun with their siblings. I think studies have shown that the more fun that a child has with their sibling growing up, the closer relationship that they're going to have when they get older, which that's a really pivotal and important relationship that they can learn to have positive interactions with and conflict resolution skills. And so this gives you another opportunity to give your children as siblings having fun together. It helps to shift negative emotions. Maybe everyone's had a stressful day or stressful week, and it's like, you know what, let's just have a pizza movie night. It improves child's receptivity while reducing reactivity, and it reduces power struggles and encourages cooperations. Those last two, that's kind of speaking to the fact that the more that they're able to cultivate these skills, the more that they're able to understand how somebody else might be impacted by their decisions and behaviors, which is then going to help reduce their reactivity and help reduce some of those power struggles. And eventually everyone's going to start cooperating a little bit better. Okay. Another strategy that you can use is the connection through conflict, teaching kids to argue with the we in mind. So this is going to be really important because everybody has disagreements. We have disagreements in healthy relationships. So just trying to teach your child that it's okay to have a disagreement, it's okay to have conflict, but just remaining respectful and considering the other person in this interaction. I think one important thing to keep in mind before using this skill is some of your own parental mindset. Y'all know your kiddos so well. Just kind of reading your child and kind of feeling them out for how receptive are they right now. Are they in a mood where they're going to be open to conversation and open to new ideas, or are they a little bit more closed off, defensive, not in a place where they're going to be open to having a new conversation or a new skill. So that's just something you may want to keep in mind when implementing this strategy. But this one is going to be to help see through the other person's eyes. So helping kids recognize the point of view of others, listen to what's not being said, teaching kids about nonverbal communication and attuning to others. So this can be really important with, like, maybe your child played in a soccer game and his team won, and so he's super excited and cheering, yay, they won, but he notices that his school friend on the other team, their team lost, and maybe his head is hanging low, maybe he's walking away with a sad look on his face. Perhaps afterwards in the car, you could help with your child increasing that empathy for somebody else. Well, did you notice how Sammy looked when his team lost? Did you notice how his body looked? And just helping him to recognize those nonverbal cues for how somebody else might be feeling. And repair, teaching kids to make things right after a conflict. So I think this is also a really important skill to help your kiddos learn. It's not an easy skill that comes naturally, but once a child has realized that maybe they did something that hurt another kiddo's feelings or their siblings' feelings, just teaching them to make things right, to understand how the other person is feeling, why they were upset, and trying to do something to make it better. Maybe that's helping them fix the toy that broke, or maybe that's just giving them a picture that they drew, something along those lines to help repair that relationship. Let's see. Is there anything else, Amber, you think I need to add?
No.
Okay. And just a couple of ideas that I had, I know this was on this last slide, but just some ideas for family fun that we had in the book. Like telling jokes. I think kids especially really like telling their family members jokes that they hear. Playing games, playing sports, going outside and playing basketball, soccer, dancing, teaching your kids how to dance, listening to music, telling stories or making up silly stories, family bike rides, baking, any kind of crafts, coloring, drawing. Those are some ideas that maybe y'all can implement in your family for some family fun.
Okay, so we are at our last slide of the last. I'm so excited that we're wrapping up this whole brain strategy. So we just wanted to show you here a quick guide for busy parents, and this kind of goes over all the different chapters in Whole Brain Child that we've been talking about. And so this is an easy Google. You can just type in like Whole Brain Child, oh my gosh, Whole Brain Child guide for busy parents. And so this is an easy thing to Google, or you can snap a picture of this. Lots of suggestions here. And then we just wanted to add a few ideas to implement at home. So maybe pick one strategy a week and focus just on that, right? We don't want to try to do everything at once. Be patient and kind with yourself and your child. Remember that these strategies might not work right away or all the time, right? Everybody's different. Everyone responds to trauma differently. All children are unique in their own ways. And so it's really easy for us to say, here are these strategies and tools, and some things might not work with your family, right? So use these as ideas and help them inspire you to figure out what will work for my family, right? Maybe this one strategy, I need to change it a little bit in this way to make it help my child, right? And so be flexible. And again, take a picture of this to remind yourself of the different strategies. And remember that change does take consistency. And so as much as possible, we know that right now we're in some hard times with this virus, and we know that when you're survivor of domestic violence and potentially maybe still in that relationship, or maybe you're sharing custody with the abusive ex-partner, it can be really hard to maintain consistency when you have that chaos going on. And so as much as possible, try to maintain that, right? If that just means that at bedtime, we always do this ritual, that's a consistent thing for that child, right? So as much as you can, try to implement these strategies in your way, and then try to be consistent with them. So we really hope that this has been helpful for you. We will be back next week with a new topic. And so please remember to check out our YouTube page, and you can join our live webinars on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. Sorry about the computer complications.
No problem.